For today's English lesson, we have some more bad news. A helicopter literally fell out of the sky in New York City, killing a family of 5 along with the pilot. Watching the news in English is a great way to improve your English if you are studying for the IELTS or TOEFL exam, or if you just want to have better conversations in English. But let's face it, watching the news in English can be pretty difficult because they use a lot of words and terms that are pretty advanced. In today's English lesson, you will learn expressions like, oh my gosh. You will learn a couple ways to use on board. We will talk about the verb emerging. We will review a way we use remains in English, and we'll talk about the verb remains. We will talk about what a skeleton is and the expression a skeleton of himself. You will learn the term freezing, but this way has nothing to do with being cold. In all, you will learn at least 23 new terms. If that sounds helpful to you, please go ahead and hit that like button. And if this is your first time here, go ahead and subscribe so you never miss another English lesson. And let's watch that news clip together.
Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh.
Shock and heartbreak along the Hudson River in New York City. A helicopter carrying tourists breaks apart midair and crashes into the river, killing everyone on board. Tonight, investigators are in the process of pulling the wreckage out of the water and working to find out what happened.
Right at the beginning of that newscast, you will hear the woman say, oh my gosh, or oh my goodness. Some people think it's swearing in English to say, oh my God. We say you are taking the Lord's name in vain. So people will change God to gosh or goodness. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. These are expressions of surprise or shock. I mean, take a look at that cat and that man. They definitely look shocked, or they definitely look surprised. Oh my goodness, said a witness as the helicopter spiraled into the river. If you don't know the word spiral, don't worry. We will talk about it in just a little bit. In the newscast, they use on board like this, being inside an aircraft. An aircraft is just a vehicle that flies, like a plane or a helicopter. 6 people were on board the helicopter when it crashed, and sadly, 3 of those people were young children. But another way we use the expression on board is like this. Agreeing with or supporting something. I was very happy when the boss said that she was on board with my idea. Wreckage. Do you know this term? Or maybe it's a review. It's the broken parts of something that has been destroyed. Divers searched the river for the helicopter's wreckage.
Mark, this tragedy killed a family of 5. Pieces of the aircraft they were on are still being pulled from the water, and that work will continue tomorrow. The cause of the helicopter crash remains under investigation. Emerging from the Hudson River after dark, the mangled remains of that helicopter carrying 6 people on board, now dead.
Emerging. That is a verb, and it means coming into view or becoming known. Take a look at that small plant. It is emerging from the sidewalk. Details about the victims are emerging as the investigation continues. Mangled is a good adjective to know. It means badly twisted or damaged. In the picture, there is definitely the mangled wreckage of a car. The mangled rotor was found near the crash site. Don't worry. If you don't know what rotor is now, you will by the end of this English lesson.
Emerging from the Hudson River after dark, the mangled remains of that helicopter carrying 6 people on board, now dead. The aircraft, now a skeleton of itself. Crews pulling it from the wreckage. As the NTSB arrives on scene to investigate what happened, we're learning more about the victims. Augustin Escobar was on board the helicopter with his wife Merce and their 3 kids, all under age 12. The 36-year-old pilot also killed.
If you saw the English lesson I did about the school being bombed a couple days ago, this will be review. The remains. What are those? It is what is left after destruction or death. Before I use it as the remains of a person, I think in the newscast they use it as the remains of the helicopter. Here's a sentence using the remains. The remains of the helicopter were pulled from the river. In the picture, you can see the remains of a car after it has gotten into an accident. But you know, in English, we like to make things confusing. Remains can also be a verb, and it means to continue, to exist. The cause of the crash remains unknown. English remains to be a very hard language for me to learn. Hopefully, your English is getting better each day. In the picture, it looks like somebody is sweeping the floor, and I have a sentence describing it using the word remains. He remains at work, cleaning up long after the store has closed.
Oh my gosh!
Eyewitnesses captured the horrifying final moments as pieces of the helicopter fell from the sky. We're freezing the video before impact.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Witnesses along the river described seeing the helicopter literally snap apart in midair.
It sounded like a sonic boom on my right. So I look up and literally I just see a helicopter splitting in two with the rotor flying off in the sky. It was going so fast and just went straight into the water and like nothing came up afterwards. It must have just sunk.
This video showing the helicopter's rotor spiraling into the water.
For this next phrase, a skeleton of himself or herself or itself, we first need to talk about what a skeleton is. There is a picture of a skeleton. It is basically a body that is just bones. So in the news report, they talk about the helicopter being a skeleton of itself, but here I'm going to use it as like skeleton of himself. It means a very reduced or damaged version of something. The helicopter was a skeleton of itself after the crash. It just means it's not as strong or not as good as it used to be. Let's look at a sentence that talks about that picture. After his long illness, he was only a skeleton of himself. Battling that illness made him lose strength. That person now looks pretty weak. And I do believe that AI made that picture. That doesn't look like a real person. At least I hope that is not a real person. We might describe that person as just skin and bones. We have an acronym. Now, an acronym is when letters stand for words, like NTSB actually stands for National Transportation Safety Board. And that board, or that group of people, investigates transportation accidents. Yeah, a helicopter plunging into the Hudson River in New York City is going to be a big deal, and it needs to be investigated. The NTSB is examining the helicopter's wreckage for clues, like what caused this accident? What caused this tragedy? Horrifying. It means extremely shocking or frightening. The horrifying crash left witnesses in disbelief. Like, in other words, they could not believe what they were seeing.
Oh my gosh!
Eyewitnesses captured the horrifying final moments as pieces of the helicopter fell from the sky. We're freezing the video before impact.
You might know freezing as describing something extremely cold, but we can talk about freezing when it comes to technology. It means pausing. That is also review. I talked about that in the last English lesson about Trump's tariffs. Pausing means stopping for a short period of time. Pausing a video to examine a moment. Investigators are freezing the video to study the helicopter's descent. Descent means it's going down, but maybe your internet isn't working so well. The video could be freezing. In other words, it's stopping every so often.
I've never seen anything like that in my life.
Witnesses along the river describe seeing the helicopter literally snap apart in midair.
It sounded like a sonic boom on my right. So I look up and literally I just see a helicopter splitting in two with the rotor flying off in the sky. It was going so fast it just went straight into the water and like nothing came up afterwards. It must have just sunk.
This video showing the helicopter's rotor spiraling into the water. It happened just after 3 Thursday afternoon near the New Jersey shoreline.
We have an English phrasal verb using the word snap. Usually snap is like this. I'm snapping my fingers. But snap apart is a little different. It means to break suddenly into pieces. The helicopter snapped apart and fell into the Hudson River. We've talked about rotor before in this English lesson. Just to make sure you know what a rotor is, it is the spinning part of a helicopter that lifts it. The rotor detached, leading to the helicopter's fall. The rotor of the helicopter might also be called the blades of a helicopter. In the newscast, they said the helicopter spiraled out of the air. Let's talk about what spiraling means. It means moving in circles downward. The helicopter was spiraling before it hit the water. Super sad to know that people, including children, were on board while that was happening. We could also have an adjective, spiral. In the picture is a spiral staircase.
Within minutes, rescue crews arrived diving into 45-degree water temps, searching for any signs of life.
At this time, all 6 victims have been removed from the water. And sadly, all 6 victims have been pronounced deceased.
Temp. We have a couple different ways in English we use temp, but in the newscast, they use it like this, short for temperatures. They said something like there were freezing temps. I think the water was like 45 degrees Fahrenheit. Rescuers braved cold temps to reach the crash site, but temp could also be short for temporary. If you've ever seen the TV show The Office, at the beginning of the series, Ryan was a temp, meaning he probably wouldn't be working there for very long. Temporary, just in case you don't know, means for a short period of time. Deceased. Not very fun to talk about. It's just a very formal way to say dead. All 6 individuals on the helicopter are deceased.
According to authorities, Escobar, a wealthy executive with global tech company Siemens, and his family were in New York visiting from Spain. Authorities say they took a helicopter tour using the Bell 206L4 helicopter seen in this 2022 picture. The 21-year-old chopper operated by New York Helicopter Tours. Flight radar showing it took off near downtown Manhattan, flying south before shifting north up the Hudson River.
Chopper. They use that in the newscast. It's an informal term for helicopter. The chopper crashed shortly after takeoff. I think they said about 15 minutes into the flight. But if you take a look at that picture, yes, there is a helicopter there, but there's also a motorcycle. A chopper could also be slang for a large motorcycle. Shifting north. If you hear shift, it's a good possibility that it means moving towards the north, or at least changing direction. The helicopter was shifting north before it turned back. CEO. It's a very fancy term for like the boss of a country. No, not a country, a company. The official definition, the top leader of a company. It's another acronym and it stands for Chief Executive Officer. It's very hard to say, so we just say CEO. The CEO of the helicopter company gave a short statement after the crash.
At 3:08 p.m., the helicopter reached the George Washington Bridge and then turned again to fly south along the New Jersey shoreline. Shortly thereafter, the aircraft lost control and hit the water just a few feet off the coast of Pier A Park in Hoboken. The cause of the crash is currently under investigation.
The CEO of the touring company leasing the aircraft telling ABC News in this statement, "We are devastated. My staff hasn't stopped crying since this afternoon. I am a father and a grandfather, and we are blown away."
Blown away. We have a couple different ways we use blown away in English, but the way they used it in the news report was like this: extremely surprised or shocked. Take a look at that woman in the picture. She looks like she is blown away by something. Here's a sentence using blown away. I was blown away when I saw the video of the crash. It looked unreal. I was blown away over how much her English has improved over the last year. I'm sure if you watch a lot of English lessons on YouTube, your English is also improving.
This was the aircraft's sixth flight today. Now, it only lasted about 15 minutes before it crashed. President Trump called the accident horrendous, and he offered his thoughts and prayers on social media. The NTSB will share updates on its investigation tomorrow.
This lesson has had a lot of people looking like that. I think maybe 3 pictures. We even had a cat that looked like that. But horrendous means very bad or terrible. The crash was a horrendous scene with debris scattered across the water. Debris. I know it ends with an S, but we pronounce it like that. Debris. Let's use horrendous as an adverb. I did horrendously on the exam. I need to study more the next time. Super sad news. My thoughts go out to all of the members of that family and their loved ones. Also the pilot's family and his loved ones. I know this is a sad story, but I would like to tell you about the private lessons I am offering. If you would like to have a private conversation with me, there is an opportunity for that. I will leave the link in the description and the comments. Congratulations, you made it to the end of another English lesson. If you're looking for more English lessons with bad news, I put a playlist right down there. Thanks so much for watching. See you next time.